Hey guys, we are back with the final set of top four of the Mount Silver Invitational. My name is Adi, and I'm joined with Eric. Eric, how you doing?
I'm good, Adi. How are you doing?
Doing well. So, our two players right now, we have Calvonix and we have 2thyfor. We had a little bit of a situation. We showed you 2thyfor and Lightcore's top eight set earlier. Core, and that set was played earlier because Lightcore is out of town right now and may or may not have been able to play today. We were hoping he'd be able to play, however, he right now, and so Trey is taking his place and playing his top four and playing into top four instead.
Yep. So we're gonna see 2thyfor hop in with the team of Kyogre, Lunala, Lopunny, Celesteela, Crobat, and Tapu Koko versus Calvonix, who is using a team of Xerneas, Kyogre, Kangaskhan, Tornadus, Amoonguss, and Incineroar.
Yeah, so how these two teams match up? They both, of course, rely on Kyogre to do a lot of damage. 234 is going to rely on Crobat and his Celesteela to really stop the Xerneas from putting too much pressure. While on the other hand, we see Kangaskhan, which is just one of the best Lunala counters in the game. So both of these players have really strong options to stop the damage output of their opponent's restricted. They both could play very defensively while also have very strong offensive options, and I'm really excited to see.
Yeah, I definitely think Celesteela is going to be a big piece for Trey here. Celesteela not really threatened by much on Calvonix's team aside from potentially Kyogre and the Incineroar. But Incineroar is going to be having a hard time getting off fire type attacks when there are two Kyogres on the field. I definitely think Trey's game plan for this game is going to be preserving that Celesteela and just not letting it get overwhelmed. Because even though Celesteela does a really good job in this matchup, if it gets to a point where Celesteela has to 1v3 or 1v4, uh, it's not going to be able to succeed. But I mean, I think that's going to be the key for Calvonix, is just trying to overwhelm Trey's team and just make sure it's in a position where he has to play on the back foot and just getting that speed control up with Tornadus and putting his team in a position where he can just start firing off attacks and clicking buttons and not giving Celesteela the opportunity to wall his team out.
Yeah, and then on the other side, we see Calvonix has an Amoonguss on the team. Amoonguss looks like it's really effective, especially combined with the Kangaskhan to avoid Lunala. There aren't a ton of ways for Trey to deal with the Amoonguss, and the best way is probably to use Crobat. However, Crobat is threatened by so many things on Calvonix's side of the field that it's that yeah. So that we're I think that both players really want all six of their Pokemon in this matchup, and so going to be decided in team preview and who brings which four.
Yeah, I definitely think all six of each player's team can be valuable in this matchup. You do have that Amoonguss, like you were talking about, that could be an integral part of Calvonix's game plan. However, Amoonguss does have to be wary of Crobat's ability to taunt and also Tapu Koko's electric terrain inhibiting its ability just to click Spore. I guess some other notable pieces would be that Lopunny, which can do a fair amount of work against Calvonix's team as it is threatening fighting type damage out of the main towards two of the main ways that at least one of the main ways that Calvonix can hit that Celesteela. But we're going to go straight into the game here, as Calvonix is going to lead with the Amoonguss and Kyogre, as Trey is going to lead with Crobat and Lopunny.
Like you said, Lopunny threatening a lot of damage on both Pokemon. Of course, has that fast fake out, and Calvonix just playing very safe, going for a double protect, while to the four going for a fake out into the Kyogre and trying to taunt the Amoonguss, but of course hitting it to protect on both cases.
Yep, double protect, very safe play from Calvonix turn one, just making sure that his Amoonguss doesn't get chipped or taunted. But we are going to see the Rage Powder redirecting the Super Fang and the Frustration here from Lopunny and Crobat. But this does allow Kyogre to get a free Origin Pulse, which does manage to connect both into Trey's Pokemon, basically scoring two knockouts, but Crobat is going to survive with that Sash.
And the Crobat went for a Super Fang into the Amoonguss, possibly expecting a switch. Uh, now that Amoonguss is not taunted, it does have the ability to go for another Rage Powder and more or less ignore and give this Kyogre really a really safe water move once again.
Yeah, Trey is Calvonix is pretty much in a similar position as to last turn where he can just click the Rage Powder at the cost of his Amoonguss likely, but this Rage Powder will be able to redirect an electric type attack into Kyogre. And since Trey's Tapu Koko is likely not a bulky variant, I'm not entirely sure on that. But if it isn't, barring an Origin Pulse miss, that is going to be a pretty easy KO on it. But we're going to see, ooh, the Celesteela switching going to be caught by Calvonix going for the Thunder. Thunder Kyogre, definitely still a thing, but definitely less common this season and in past formats. But Calvonix just making an amazing play there by calling Trey switch out into Celesteela, and yeah, one of Trey's
And it
biggest
makes a
win
lot of sense on
cons just being
makes a lot of
eliminated.
sense on this team. Ways to hit other water types.
Yeah,
One interesting thing that we see is that Trey decided not to bring either of his either of his restricted Pokemon to this matchup,
yeah,
um, opting to leave Kyogre and Lunala on the bench, thinking he had enough damage output, but instead, it looks like his team just didn't have the bulk to withstand the Kyogre. Didn't have a lot of ways to deal with Kyogre and Amoonguss paired up.
yeah. Definitely bringing none of your restricted Pokemons is usually not advised, but I mean, to be honest, like when considering the Thunder on Kyogre, and in considering it being an opposing Kyogre matchup where Trey's Kyogre does not have Thunder, the matchup does look pretty unfavorable for a Lunala and a Kyogre staring down a Thunder Kyogre and an opposing Kangaskhan. But we're going to see a Super Fang go into Kyogre. Kyogre just clicking Thunder to get rid of the last bit of Crobat's HP, and Trey just going for a double protect as that's going to fail, and Kangaskhan is going to be able to pick up the final knockout with a double edge, sealing up game one.
Yeah, so Trey not really having an answer to the Amoonguss and Kyogre. Very curious to see how he could respond to that in game two, whether or not he can put enough pressure on that Amoonguss and put enough pressure on that Kyogre to be able to slow Calvonix down.
Yeah, I think definitely the reveal of Thunder in game one was huge for Trey because now I think he knows how to approach this matchup a bit differently, knowing that Kyogre is carrying Thunder, which actually is a huge threat to his team, considering that he also has the Tapu Koko with the Electric Train up, which is just boosting the power of Thunder. So I mean that gives even Trey even less options when switching into it. But definitely having an answer for Calvonix's Kyogre is going to be a key part of this game for Trey, and yeah, just not letting that Celesteela go down too early.
And so it seems like Trey was hesitant to bring the Lunala largely because Kangaskhan is such a good Lunala counter. He might have to rely on that low punny to effectively deal with the Kangaskhan and rely on to do a little more damage in this game and have a little more defensive bulk since it's really one of the few things on this team that can take either attack from the Kyogre.
Yeah, and we're going to see Trey bring that Lunala this game as he's going to lead it alongside Lopunny, as Calvani is just going to go for the lead that worked out so well for him in game one, the Amoonguss and Kyogre.
Yeah, and so now of course Low Putty still has fake out pressure, but he doesn't have top pressure, so he doesn't really have a great way to stop Rage Powder from happening later in the game. However, Lunala does have a number of support options that it could go for, be it Trick Room, be it Tailwind, that could help support this team and get around this Amoonguss. Could have something like Roar to also get around this Amoonguss.
How this is different from the Crobat. The thing about Crobat is that its means of support are very targeted, so it would have to rely on Amoonguss not going for a protect or Kyogre not going for protect. But the thing is, Lunala has the ability to be more active on this turn one, as it is able to possibly set up a means of speed control, like you mentioned, if Calvonix decides to go for a double protect play. But I mean, there is a way that if Calvonix decides he wants to be a little bit more aggressive, could decide to not protect either one of these Pokemon and potentially get some free damage off with Kyogre, or if he predicts the fake out to go into Kyogre, could potentially just go for a Spore straight off the bat. But I don't know, he could just play it safe again, just clicking protects, but he does risk the speed control going up. But the thing is, if speed control does go up, what does Trey do to stop this Amoonguss from clicking Rage Powder again?
Right, and we don't know what the Lunala's moveset is. It could have something like Psyshock, which could damage the Amoonguss. I would imagine that Psyshock and a Frustration would knock it out. Of course, if Calvonix decides not to protect, then he does risk taking a fake out with Amoonguss and a strong attack from Lunala into the Kyogre or into the Amoonguss slot.
Yeah, and that fake out chip is big into the Amoonguss if it is carrying the Focus Sash. I'm not sure if we saw Amoonguss's item in the top 8 set, but definitely Focus Sash is a very valid option to consider. as Trey is going to Mega Evolve his Lopunny, and we're just going to see the double protect play come out from Calvonix as Lunala does set up. Goes for the wide guard instead, predicting a potential aggressive play from Calvonix. But I guess that's not too bad for Trey because, Tailwind didn't really help him that much in this scenario anyway, considering both his Lunala and Lopunny are faster than both of Calvonix's Pokemon. But again, Adi, we are in a situation where Rage Powder from Amoonguss, it's not Kyogre can just fire off an attack here, and what is Trey gonna do about it? Because if he doesn't KO Amoonguss, then that means if he doesn't go for Rage Powder for some reason, then that's a free Spore into something. But if he decides to double target the Amoonguss, then that means Kyogre just gets a free attack, pretty much.
And we do see a Rage Powder, but it avoids the high jump kick. I do think that high jump kick and menacing Windrace Maelstrom would have knocked it out. But instead, Lopunny losing half his health and then going down to an Origin Pulse, and Lunala breaking its Shadow Shield. The wide guard coming out from Lunala, it really stops. It makes the Kyogre and something like Origin Pulse. However, if Lunala is going for wide guard, it means it's not doing damage. And Lopunny really didn't have a ton of ways to do a lot of damage to that Amoonguss. And so that was a really safe play from Calvonix, and it worked out really effectively.
Yeah, that high jump kick miss, definitely big for Calvonix there, as it prevents his Amoonguss from being KO'd, which allows it to redirect just one more attack if he decides to keep it on the field. And luckily, that one more attack will likely be coming out from Tapu Koko since it is faster than the Lunala. And that pretty much allows Kyogre to get off another free attack if Trey doesn't predict that and click Wide Guard again, which he does, as Amoonguss is going to go for the Rage Powder, as Tapu Koko goes for the Dazzling Gleam, which is a smart play from Trey, which allows him to get some chip on that Kyogre, as Calvonix is going to see right through that wide guard and go for an Electric Terrain boosted Thunder into that Lunala, which does not pick up the KO.
Yeah, coming really close, but couldn't quite pick up the KO. And now we see that not actually in the worst spot. He does still have wide guard pressure coming out from Lunala, forcing that Kyogre to click Thunder or risk just not doing any damage. And the Tapu Koko putting a lot of pressure on it, and putting a lot of pressure on a lot of the Mons on his team. So if 2thyfor can preserve his Tapu Koko effectively and get enough damage out from it, he might still have a chance in this game. And we do see Kangaskhan come in for Calvonix, bring that fake out pressure, potentially having scrappy fake out pressure if it wants to fake out the Lunala. Although wide guard, I believe, would go before fake out if Kangaskhan does not opt to Mega Evolve.
Yeah, and I guess it'll come down to whether or not Calvonix knows that the priority bracket's there. The thing is about the Kangaskhan coming in here is that it pretty much forces a defensive play to come out from Lunala, because if Lunala decides to protect, then that means Koko is going to take a lot of damage from Kyogre, but if it decides to not protect, it risks getting faked out there. As we're going to see Calvonix switch out his Kyogre for the Tornadus, as Kangaskhan fakes out the Koko, which Trey correctly predicts by going for protect, and Lunala is able to get up the Tailwind here.
Yeah, Lunala not too worried about getting knocked out. He knows that it's not going to be able to do a ton of damage the rest of the game anyway, and instead just opting for Tailwind to essentially counteract any potential speed control. Like seeing that Tornado switch in, and remains on the field. Still has the potential to do a lot of damage, especially if Kangaskhan, which it normally doesn't have Sucker Punch. Yeah, so now Trey's in actually a pretty threatening position. He could put a lot of damage out on Tornadus onto Kyogre. Which of course walls Kangaskhan.
Yeah, and if Tapu Koko is able to be correctly preserved in this endgame, Trey could actually turn the tide a bit and use this Tailwind. But Tornadus having Prankster able to pretty much guarantee Tailwind, as the KO onto Tornadus will allow Calvonix to bring in his Kyogre. That is now sitting in front of the Celesteela and Lunala thanks to Tapu Koko's Volt Switch. But okay, so this is a bit of an interesting spot for Calvonix, because he does have to play the mind games of Wide Guard, which Trey could click with either of his Pokemon here. And Kangaskhan, kind of just a sitting duck right now. I mean, I guess it can KO the Lunala with a potential Dark type move. And, the Kyogre is still a threat with that Thunder. So, I don't know. This is a bit of an interesting position for both players, as Lunala is going to go for the Protect. Kyogre is going to go for the Protect, as Kangaskhan goes for the Double Edge into Lunala, potentially protecting the Coco to come in, but Trey able to stop that from happening by Protect, even though it wouldn't have hit Lunala anyway because it's a normal type move, and get some free damage into this Kangaskhan.
Right, and now we not only see we saw a double edge into Lunala, which is really interesting because it wouldn't have actually killed the Lunala even if Lunala hadn't protected, um, because Kangaskhan had Mega Evolved. So he was really just calling the Tapu Koko switch in. Thunder. Instead, Celesteela going for very bold play, not protecting in any way. And of course, we do see that it is an attack boosting Celesteela. I believe it needs around, most Celesteela now running 132 attack to KO Kangaskhan, among other things. But instead, the electric terrain boosted Thunder just does go straight into the Celesteela and OHKO it.
Yeah.
Plus, the setup.
Yeah, that Thunder just not being able to be stopped here. And that's just going to be an easy KO onto Celesteela thanks to the electric terrain. Now Coco is in here. It does have to stall out this last turn of Tailwind as Kangaskhan is going to go protect or go into the protect along with Kyogre. Now, I think there might be an out here for Trey if Origin Pulse misses, but unfortunately for Trey, the Origin Pulse is going to connect, and that is going to be a pretty clean 2-0 win for Calvonix.
And so we have our finals set. We have Animus VGC taking on Calvonix in the finals of the Mount Silver Win a Switch Tour with a Switch. We'll find out soon.
Yep, we'll be back shortly for our final match.